President Donald Trump was in full campaign mode yesterday in Pennsylvania when he took to the stage to admonish Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, and a bunch of other diabolical Democrats, and the crowd went wild.
Do we have any individuals from Somalia in the group? Please raise your hand. That's from Minnesota, you know. That's called the Great Big Minnesota Scam with one of the dumbest governors ever in history. I love this Ilhan Omar, whatever the hell her name is, with the little turban. I love her. She comes in, does nothing but bitch. She's always complaining. She comes from a country where, I mean, it's considered about the worst country in the world, right? They have no military, they have no nothing, they have no parliament. They don't know what the hell the word parliament means. They have nothing. They have no police. They police themselves. They kill each other all the time. I love it. She comes to our country and she's always complaining about the Constitution allows me to do this. We ought to get her the hell out. She married her brother in order to get in, right? She married her brother. Can you imagine if Donald Trump married his sister? Beautiful. She's a beautiful person. If I married my sister to get my citizenship, do you think I'd last for about 2 hours, or would it be something less than that? She married her brother to get in. Therefore, she's here illegally. She should get the hell out. Throw her the hell out. She does nothing but complain.
You know, it was very reminiscent of President Donald Trump's 2016 campaign and his 2020 campaign and his 2024 campaign. And it was the highlight of the day for many of those people in Pennsylvania who were thrilled to see their president back on the campaign trail. And President Donald Trump very comfortable at a podium in front of some diehard Trump supporters, in front of diehard Republicans who are excited for him to continue to execute his agenda. And it seems like he, even though he will not be appearing on the ballot, is rip-roaring and ready to go for 2028 in support of whichever candidate he decides is going to be picking up the mantle and carrying it into the future for the MAGA movement. Could be J.D. Vance, could be Marco Rubio, could be Don Jr., could be somebody else that we don't even know about because 2028 is a long time away. But President Donald Trump is continuing to push policies. In fact, he's doubling and tripling down on the one policy that made him president in the first place, and that is immigration. This time, however, now that the border's under control, he's hammering home the idea of reverse immigration, reverse migration, and why it is so beneficial to the United States of America.
For the first time in 50 years, we now have reverse migration, which means more jobs, better wages, and higher income for American citizens, not for illegal aliens. And you know what? We all have a heart. We want to take care of people. But these people are getting killed on the walk up. They're dying. They're dying. They have to go through jungles. We don't realize this. They are going through areas that are it's not possible to get through some of the areas. They're going through jungles down in the Central America, South America, some of these areas with snakes, with crocodiles and alligators. They're getting just eaten, and they're getting beat up by some of the bad people. Women are being raped. Remember when I started, I said we're going to stop the raping of women in those caravans, a name conceived of by me. Because it's a caravan, thousands of people, 10, 15, 20,000 people coming up. The women in those caravans are being raped in unprecedented numbers by other people in the caravans. By them not coming, they're not even trying to come now because they know they can't get through. We're doing a tremendous service because they're not being killed and they're not being raped and they're staying back in their country where they've been.
It is something that President Donald Trump wants to remind the media and the Democrats and everyone else that when you have illegal immigration, it doesn't just hurt American citizens. It's very dangerous for the migrants. And we remember there were coyotes and cartel members and human traffickers who were stealing money from these people and doing other terrible things and putting them into indentured servitude just to get them across the border. That's all gone. And Donald Trump says, look, it may not be an ideal situation to stay in your own country, but it's your own country. And it's much safer for you to do that than to try to make the dangerous trek across the border, especially with the ramp up of immigration and border patrol. It is an all-around great policy, reverse migration. And there's also not just reverse migration, but a pause on new migration and immigration from countries that, let's just face it and be honest, don't necessarily have the best interests of the United States of America at heart. These are the third world countries that President Donald Trump always talked about and said, look, if you bring people in from these countries and they can't even handle their own stuff back home, they're just going to lower the standard of the United States of America. We don't want that.
I've also announced a permanent pause on third world migration, including from hellholes like Afghanistan, Haiti, Somalia, and many other countries. I didn't say shit, all you did. Remember I said that to the senators, they came in, the Democrats. They wanted to be bipartisan. So they came in and they said, this is totally off the record. Nothing mentioned here. We want to be honest because our country was going to hell. And we had a meeting. And I say, why is it we only take people from shithole countries, right? Why can't we have some people from Norway, Sweden, just a few? Let us have a few. From Denmark, do you mind sending us a few people? Send us some nice people, do you mind? But we always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime. The only thing they're good at is going after ships.
And that is something that President Donald Trump has stuck with through his 2 terms now as president. And he's continuing to make sure that we have the highest quality citizens, pausing a third world migration until we can get those things under wraps. I mean, this, of course, doesn't just come from nowhere. This came on the heels of the attack in Washington, D.C., where an Afghan refugee that was unvetted and led into the United States of America by Joe Biden in his failed withdrawal from Afghanistan, where he handed over pretty much the entire country, billions of dollars worth of American supplies, and millions of people's lives to the Taliban, not to mention the air base at Bagram, which is now in control of the Chinese. Joe Biden destroyed Afghanistan, brought in many of the lower tier individuals, and one of them shot 2 of our National Guardsmen in the head in the middle of the day in downtown D.C., our nation's capital, a mile from the White House. One of those guardsmen is dead. The other one's still fighting for their life. It is not the kind of person that we want in this country, and President Donald Trump makes no bones about that. And he said, look, during the Biden administration, it wasn't migration, it was an invasion.
Good. A major factor that fueled inflation under Biden was the invasion of 25 million people. Think of this, 25 million people came into our country totally unchecked and unvetted, mostly across our southern border. 10 months ago, we inherited the worst border in the history of the world, and now we have the strongest border in the history of our country. We've never had a border that strong. And people don't talk about it. You notice they don't talk about it. When I was running, it was the biggest thing. And before I was running, that's all they talked about, the border, the border, the border. And now I fixed it. Nobody wants to talk about it. Even my people. They say, sir, don't put it in your speech. Why? Because nobody cares about the border. You fix it. No, but you know how bad that is? Because they forget what you did. We had a border that was so bad. Everybody, criminals, everybody pouring into our country. Anybody. You know, the Congo, I just settled that war. The Congo, their entire prison population was set into our country. Venezuela, their entire prison population was dumped into our country. And now we have the tightest border we've ever had. We have one of the strongest borders anywhere in the world.
And that is something that President Donald Trump is proud of and wants everybody to remember, because if you forget that the border is secure, then you'll forget that border security is important. And headed into the next election, that's something that we cannot rest on our laurels on. Just because we now have a secure border and where illegal aliens are being deported in mass numbers, and we've paused migration from the poop hole countries, as Donald Trump likes to call them, that's great. Now we need maintenance. The maintenance plan is in place. And the problem you have is that people get content. They think that it's always going to be this way. And then suddenly they elect somebody that's going to reopen the border. Suddenly they elect somebody that's going to move the needle the other way. Suddenly they do something that's going to change this country back to where we had under Joe Biden. Donald Trump doesn't want that. Donald Trump and the people that voted for him, Americans, don't want these folks in our country bringing down the quality of our life, stealing our jobs, overloading our healthcare system, bringing down the quality of our school systems, bringing crime and overpopulation to some areas where there is truly overpopulation and crimes running rampant. We want safe havens for our kids, for our schools, for our families, for our businesses, for everyone in the United States of America. And President Donald Trump says, if you don't share those values, if you're not a constitutional, conservative, Christian, or moral person, then you really shouldn't be here.
If you don't share our values, contribute to our economy, and assimilate into our society, then we don't want you in our country. We don't want you. I mean, Ilhan Omar and the people from Somalia, they hate our country. And they think we're stupid people, which actually, when they allow that to happen, they are. That's headed by Governor Walz, one of the dumber people around. No, but think of it. He's given not like peanuts, billions. These are people that don't work in their own country. Their own country's a failure. They have no money there. And yet they come into our country and steal tens of billions of dollars. How stupid are we to allow that to happen? They can't earn 10 cents in their country. They come over here and rob. Are we that easy? Are we that easy to allow a thing like that to happen? That's up to you.
It's up to you. You need to maintain. You need to make sure that the decisions you make for your leaders in Pennsylvania, in Florida, in Texas, in the national arena, in Congress, in the Senate, wherever you make a decision as to somebody who's going to represent you, you need to make sure you're deciding on somebody who's going to represent you and not somebody who comes here illegally to bilk the system and steal your tax dollars. That's not what elections are for. That's not what this country is for. That's not what Donald Trump's fighting for. That's not what any of us are fighting for. And President Donald Trump is doing everything in his power to make sure that America is great and stays great, and that Americans are great, and anyone coming to America is also great. And he will fight back pretty much against anyone who says otherwise. He will also fight back against the New York Times. He is continuing to battle the New York Times as they continue the false narrative that he is old and feeble and failing. A very lengthy Truth Social post was posted by President Donald Trump where he laid in to the New York Times once again and said, "My hours are the longest. My results are among the best. There's never been a president who has worked as hard as me." There's much more to it, but like I said, you probably know the gist, and he's right. And if you want to know how President Donald Trump works so hard and how Donald Trump is able to accomplish so much, and if you want to emulate that in your own life and have a successful business, a successful family, successful ventures, whatever it is you want to do, if you want to succeed the way President Donald Trump does, pick up a copy of my book, Go Trump Yourself. It's available instantly for digital download. We have a bundle of the PDF copy, the ebook, and also the audiobook. Go TrumpYourself.com. Buy this book today. Start living like Trump tomorrow.